talked about, we got to go back to polygamy, right? Now I believe it's polygamy if I'm wrong, but polygamy is when you got, right. But I think that's something that's us in our Black community need to address, because I think more people, like I was watching some court show the other day, and it was like this guy was ping ponging between two women, and I was like, the only thing that's missing is a hard conversation. Because he wasn't leaving neither one of them, and neither was the women leaving him. So it was just like, instead of y'all going to divorce court, instead of y'all breaking up these households, instead of y'all separating everything, wouldn't it be better for y'all just to come together, live underneath one roof? He's sleeping with you. He's going in unprotected on you and on her. We got to have that hard conversation. What's good, everybody? Hope all is well. This is Zachary King from the Future is Female podcast. I am here with the beautiful
Mahalia.
Mahalia, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay. For the listening audience, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a trauma facilitator.
Okay.
I enjoy teaching about, how trauma affects the body. And how we can be more aware of it to normalize the conversations, especially in our community.
True.
And I'm a doula, lactation counselor.
Wow.
Childbirth educator, maternal health advocate. I'm not active in it, but I'm still, I'm still supporting.
Right.
Everything maternal health.
Okay, we definitely got to touch on that. I'm gonna have a moment of transparency with you, okay? I will hear a lot about maternity health and a few other things that affect it, but it wasn't until almost a year ago when I got hired to do a photography job, and we had to go to Harrisburg to film a big thing. You know what I'm talking about? And when I seen it, and you was able to see the women that was actually affected by it. And it was like, this is a real thing. This is a thing, like, you hear about it, but it don't affect you as a man. So it's easy to dismiss it. So when I was up there and I was Harrisburg, and when I was able to see all the Black women, and some of them I knew, and when they was able to tell their stories, it was like, wow, this is a real thing. How did you get onto that? What happened?
It's interesting. I lived in South Carolina for a couple of years. So I have an 8-year-old.
Okay.
So I was in South Carolina when she was, let's say, like from 8 months to 3.
Okay.
So during that time while I was there, there was this midwife, Black older lady, and she was looking for just younger Black women to shadow her, to learn more about, midwifery and, maternal health. So I shadowed her for a while I was in South Carolina.
Okay. And
then when I moved back to Philly, she told me, like the birth workers scene, it's a lot of stuff happening in Philly, just get involved. And when I came back to Philly, that's what I did. Got involved.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you have with that? Like when you tell people you are doula, or even what surrounds that? Like even for someone like myself, who's a man, how do you bring awareness, or, but first let's talk about the challenges of being a doula.
The challenges, I would say some of the challenges is, especially working with our people, our women, it's, I don't want to say the wrong words.
Yeah, but you got to speak. No, we, in this platform, we speak on transparency. Let me put this out here. We attack the issue, not the person. Okay.
Right.
So if anyone has a problem with anything that's being said, Talk about the issue. Attack that. We don't do the person. So I say that because I felt like that was where a lot of other podcasts went wrong or is going wrong, because somebody, the moment they say something that somebody don't like, their whole background get brought up and their resume and all the things that they didn't do. And we got to talk about the issue. But also, we in our community got to have hard conversations.
I agree.
There's no place, think about it, there's no place where we go no more besides the internet to have hard conversations. Church, let's be real here. You're not going to hear about anything. You're not going to hear about the community issues. You're going to hear about very surface level things. So we need to have this conversation. Because like I said, it was a moment. I'm 44 years old. I just got into maternity health just a year ago once I was hired to be a job. I didn't know that it was a real thing. You know, I didn't know it. I didn't know, you know what else I didn't realize too that was really real? Postpartum. Like that was a big deal up there. Like a lot of women were talking about postpartum. As a man, it's like, oh well, you know, and again, let me be the one to offend. Is as a man, you're like, hey, get over it. You'll be all right. But it's a real thing.
Not true. And men can have postpartum depression as well. That's not talked about at all, really. At all. So I would say, back to your original question, I think it comes down to knowledge is power and trying to just overcome some mindsets that we have.
But what is the big one? Like, there got to be something that you like, if I could just change their mind, or like, what is the big one?
The big one.
The big one. Like, what is it? Like, what is the one, that one mindset you like, it's this mindset that's keeping so many back from, you know, I guess being aware. That would be the phrase I'll use.
One thing, your community and who you're around.
Okay.
Because let's say you're hearing things from your family, from your mom, grandma, aunts, you know, uncles, grandpa, right? Getting their perspective on it. And it's just unlearning the things that are not true, because your parents could be sincere, right?
Right.
Grandparents, they can be sincere, but people can be sincerely wrong.
Oh.
And I think that's a hard thing to overcome, not to overcome, but to admit, right? This is what I've been told. This is what I've seen in my family for all this time. And if I'm telling you that, hey, maybe there's another way, or maybe I don't want to say, hey, what you're doing is wrong, because you'll feel attacked. Well, my mom did it. My grandma did it.
Right.
But just knowing like, okay, let's be educated on this, right? Knowledge really is power. Like, I'll give one example. I think it's a good example. Like, people say, oh, leave the baby to cry. It's exercising their lungs, right? Like, just leave them. They'll shut up eventually. It's like, no, a baby is meant to be held. If a baby is crying, there's something is an issue. They may not need to be fed. Their diapers may have been changed. They just want to be held because they should be and they need to be.
Okay. I mean, because I've come from the era where it was like, you know, you see a baby crying. It's like, no, they just want to be held, and you're going to make them spoiled. So I think
not true. Okay. That's a big myth.
You know,
you're not going to spoil a baby by holding them. They need to be held.
I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback, right? Okay. So my daughter, when she was very young, she had to be about just 2, just learning how to walk, right? And she fell and she, cried, and I left her there. I left her. Like, no, I'm not picking her up.
2 is not a baby.
Right?
That's a toddler.
Okay. Right. Okay. So when I think of a baby, I'm thinking of a toddler, but you're right. And what happened was, my lady friend at the time was like, you're not going to pick her up. And I was like, no. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm walking all over top of her, going about my way. 2 seconds later, she got up and all the tears stopped. And I like to think that the resilience that she shows today is a reflection of some of that hard. Because I felt like if I would have been babying her, you know, I don't come from a big family, so there's a lot of you had to do on your own. You know, there was no one you got to depend on. Now I get it, because I know somebody's gonna be like, yo, she's only 2, but where do we start? You know. But I do agree though, because I will also make the point that not enough black children are loved. Not enough black children are receiving love from their fathers. It's maybe an absentee father, and from their mother, which we don't also talk about, is a mother is absentee. Maybe not physically, she may be there, but mentally, she's processing why the man is not there. Mentally, she's processing that she got to work 2 jobs to support this, and she don't have the time for lovey-dovey and affection. So she's providing financially, but that love thing with so many black children don't, and it shows. Look how violent our communities are.
It does. And I would just say that being a single parent is not normal. That's not normal. We have a lot of single parents in our community, and it's not normal. It's not natural. It's not something, that's not how it was supposed to be. And our women, right? They do it. You do everything. If you don't have a co-parent or if you don't have support, right? It's the pressure is.
So let's talk about the why. Let's talk about the why, because I agree with you. I don't think that single parent households are, what's the word? Productive.
It's not that
good
it's
for
not
society.
productive. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not normal.
I don't think they're productive. I mean, if you think about, look, I've been to prison, right? The majority of the men that are walking through them prison yards come from single parent households. It's not. The statistics show that those who come from single parent households are more likely to drop out of school, don't get the education. What else? Go to jail, self-delete. I mean, the list goes on. We're not opposed to do it. And I think that I'm going to say the why. I think it's celebrated in our community. I think that it's been celebrated for far too long, and we got to put an end to it.
I agree. And that's why I think there should be more mentorship in our community, from men, especially men groups. They should be like, okay, let's do. And I know someone who tries to do that, who tries to, be there. He tries to show up and support in whatever way that they can. And it's amazing. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna tell you a point that I had a few weeks ago. This is maybe a year or two ago, right? A friend of mine. She's gonna be on this platform now, but it's gonna be a shot fired moment. There's gonna be some smoke right now. All right, so we was at having a discussion, and I made the point that women are selfish when it comes to. I made the point, like, when you look for a man, y'all looking for a man that could pay your bills. You're looking for a man that can get your hair done. You're looking for a man that could take you on a trip. I have yet to hear women say, I'm looking for a man that could be a good role model to my son. I'm looking for a good man. It depends
on the women that you're involving yourself with. To me, that sounds like a specific group of women you're involving yourself with.
I think that's a cop-out. I think that's a cop-out. I think when women say that is a cop-out, because no one is dealing with raggedy behind women. No one is dealing with, no one is going to, we're not looking to find raggedy behind women. But this is just a consensus of what we typically deal with. You, as men, this is the first time in history. I'm not sure if people realize this. This is the first time in history that women are actually able to hear the male perspective in things. Like, think about it.
What do you mean? When it's been patriarchy for so long?
From whom?
From the world.
So we live in a patriarchy society, but but there's never been a time period where you actually hear men for a long time. When you look at the talk shows and everything like that was running, the music, the movies, it was all from the woman perspective. This is the first time you don't have.
That's not true.
Name a time where you heard a black man get on a platform and was able to speak his truth about his dating preferences.
Oh, okay. We're talking about dating preferences,
or just his life preferences. Like, there was no
Okay.
there was no platform for a man to talk about his political views.
Yeah. Okay, now I see what you're talking about. I thought you were just talking about like in general. I'm like,
We live
men
in
have
a-
been
we live
ruling
in
the
a-
world. Like, what are you talking about?
But okay, so if men rule the world, right, and men have this thing, because women love to put that, say men rule the world, men do this, men do that, but all the laws, all the things that women benefit from a lot, they're all done by the hands of men. The reason why you able to get the rights and the things that you have now as women is because a man stuck his neck out and said, we need to get these women. Men. So when women, it's like they paint the picture as if they're being oppressed. And for some, I guess they are, you know, but here in the West, it's not that case at all. It's not.
I mean, I agree. It's not a competition, right?
It's a war.
No,
It's a war.
it's
It
yin
shouldn't
and
be.
yang. It's the perfect combination.
Okay.
But I think right now in society, especially in our community, there's
There's a
this
war
battle between
black men, black women.
men and women, masculinity and femininity. And I think a lot of people have it wrong. I mean, I don't have all the right answers.
No.
But it's an equal opposite, right? A man has his function, a woman has her function, and two people choosing to come together, right? Not falling in love. Like I heard a quote and it just changed my perspective because I'm not going to fall in love with someone because it just seems like it's out of my control. I'm going to choose to love someone, right? And choose to deal with them and all their baggage or everything that comes along with it. But for me personally, I'm not going to use the term falling in love. I'm going to use the term choosing to
be in love.
Yeah.
Well, okay, because also if you look at marital rates and divorce rates, women are choosing to leave the situation. Women are choosing
because women can now. I think back then, thinking of just like the stereotypes, right? The shame that came with that. Like as a woman, if you get divorced and you have children, it's like, woe is you. Everyone would look down on you, and the man could still go on. He's fine. He could still go on and have another family.
Today. People still look down on women for that.
I know people still do, but now I think a lot of women are like, I don't care.
Okay,
which is good. Which I think it's good in some ways and not good in some ways.
So give me the how. Give me how it is good in some ways. Like give me that.
It's good because now I feel like a lot of women don't need to put up with abuse.
Okay.
Right? Some relationships are literally just like abuse and domestic violence. Right?
Right.
Whether it's cultural or not, it's like this is what it is. Right? The man is like, I am everything, and you do what I say, right? Everything is led by me. You really don't have a say. And that's in a lot of relationships. I mean, culturally around the world, it's kind of like that.
Right.
You know, so be it. But at least here in the US, I think it's good where a woman could be like, look, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm not going to put up with your abuse. I'm not going to put up with your negative subjection, right? And I have the opportunity to support myself, support my children. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to live a life of misery and be traumatized for like 50 years in a relationship with you. Right?
So give me the bad part. Give me why is that bad now?
So it can be bad because now it seems like there's too much I don't want to say options, but it's like an easy cop out. I feel like some people are just like, you know what? If an issue comes up in marriage, and I'm not saying like if it's like cheating or whatever, right? People have different ways of life,
right?
Polygamy, whatever. So if that's what some people do,
we
that's
got to
what
touch
they
on
do.
that too. So let's put a pin in that one. We got to go back to that.
Right. But let me finish.
No, for sure.
But yeah, some people just use it as an easy cop out. If you have a disagreement, it's like, we're not going to agree on this, so we need to be separated. We need to divorce. And it's like, no, if it's something that you can work through,
right,
work through it.
Right.
And
I think that's a message that really do need to be conveyed. I everything you said, I could 100% agree with. I think at one point women were abused. Like women were, oh man, there was a time period where a woman could say she's getting an abuse, and the police would come knocking on the door, and they would be like, hey, tell her to keep it quiet. And they would leave, and she would have to suffer in the door. But now it just became the opposite. It just became the opposite because now, like you said, the first sign of trouble, and then now we live in such a society where, see, I believe that the reason to why marriages lasted back then is because one, the courtship process was really hard. It was difficult. It would take you almost 2-3 years almost to get a woman. Like you hear the brothers was singing, the back in the day, the R&B, the shuffle out. Them brothers, they would be singing their heart out to women. They had to do everything. Roll out the red carpet. It was like, I gotta get her flowers. I gotta sing to her. I gotta put my favorite jacket in the puddle for she to walk over.
Because the woman is the prize.
I gotta get that. We could talk about that too. Is she really the prize? But we could talk about that too. It was so much to get a woman. Nowadays, you got $40. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a couple of Instagram likes.
Right.
Like if you, so it's like the barrier entry is so low.
So low.
It's like, well, I don't gotta put up with his shit no more. She don't gotta put up with my shit either. Because and then you got so many people who are willing to take your place, even if it was for a small smidgen of a time period. There was time periods where, it was kind of like, hey, you got your life going on. I got your life going on. Everybody had their own thing. But now, because everybody sees each other's life online, it's like, I could do what she do. Oh, your man dropped the ball. I could do that. And it may not last for very long until they get tired of it. And another thing is we don't need each other no more. I mean, let's be real here. Yeah. Before, a woman's financial survival depended upon her husband. Now, women make just as much money as men, if not more.
Yeah.
If not more. So she don't need me for financial stability. Before, a man, you could sit a man in a house and that thing will fall to the ground because he had no clue how to run it. But now you got Mr. Dads, mom dads that know how to run it better than the women do. Let's be real here. There's a lot of men that know how to run households. And then if you look at modern technology, it's slowly phasing women out too. If you think about it, look at the dishwasher. Look at the vacuum too.
It comes back to roles too.
Okay.
Who said that it was the wife's job to be like a maid in the house? Like, to me, when I look back at, let's look at royalty, the TV show Bridgerton, right? It's hilarious.
Okay.
But
I don't know Bridgerton. I tried watching an episode. It wasn't for me. It just, I tried.
You got to get into it.
Yeah, it was too slow for me. My ADHD won't let me sit down and enjoy that.
It's pretty good.
Everybody say that. It's crazy because I keep a pretty open mind. I'm willing to give things a try, but I just like, I was like, nah. I went back to watching The Walking Dead. It's juicy.
But
okay.
My thing is, like, when I look at that or thinking of, people in royalty back then, when that man had a wife, it wasn't like, oh, I'm looking for you to come and wash up and clean the house. It's like, no, we have a whole bunch of maids for that. So she wasn't doing any of that. So what was her role as the wife? To have children, sure. And she wasn't really raising them because there were maids and everybody to take care of them. So what was her role?
But that's an extreme, though. You don't think?
No, I don't think it's an extreme. To me, I think...
Let's talk about what's happening in today's... Or even what's happening today. I think the reason why women have roles is because it was assumed, like, a woman... The way the world was, especially in development times...
No, wait.
Okay,
let me make my point.
Okay, my mistake.
Don't think of back then. But to me, what I look at when I see that is the support. Now... we don't have support like that. Even back then, there was more of a community, right? People came and supported you. I feel like now, like a single mom, some single moms, it's like, it's literally just them. And that's crazy. When I think about it, like you are the sole person taking care of another human being, multiple human beings, if you have multiple children, and if it's you literally by yourself and you have no other support, that's almost insanity.
So let's talk about single. We so much to unpack. We talked about we got to go back to polygamy, right? Now I believe it's polygamy. If I'm wrong, but polygamy is when you got right. But I think that's something that's us in our Black community need to address, because I think more people, like I was watching some court show the other day, and it was like this guy was ping ponging between two women, and I was like, the only thing that's missing is a hard conversation. Because he wasn't leaving neither one of them, and neither one of the women leaving him. So it was just like, instead of y'all going to divorce court, instead of y'all breaking up these households, instead of y'all separating everything, wouldn't it be better for y'all just to come together, live underneath one roof? He's sleeping with you. He's going in unprotected on you and on her. We got to have that hard conversation. It happens more often.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. So it's like, I don't understand why people just don't be like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to just come together. Because you're not leaving him. You're not going to let her have him. And she's not going to let you have him. And he's going to continuously going back and forth. I don't understand why people just don't go ahead and just huddle up.
I mean, I think I'm not against it. It's, people's lifestyle choices. Okay. If that's how you're choosing to live, be honest about it, right? Be straight up about it. Like, look.
But that lifestyle seems like it's choosing them. It's like you didn't have a choice right now, And I know it sounds crazy, but it's like I didn't, because you might be like, well, again, I'm just using the court situation as she didn't walk in on that saying I was willing to sign up for that. But that's the position that she found herself as. You know what I noticed?
So then they, like you said, they need to have a hard conversation.
I think it's just a hard conversation.
Do you want to continue on with this? If he's like, I want both of you, then it's up to the women to decide. Like, do you guys want to do this or not?
Right. In our community, the one thing we don't need is another single parent household. We do need some to coming together.
But and also to the coming together. So talking about all the single mothers, right? And men supporting.
Who makes single mothers? Can we ask that question? I'm sorry, I know you're about to go. But who makes single mothers? Is it men or do women choose to be single mothers? Okay.
I don't understand the question.
You don't understand the question? Who makes single
choosing?
Mothers?
I mean, situations happen, things happen, life happens, whatever happened between those two individuals and they decided to separate. It just is what it is. I don't think you're going into, let's say you're in a committed relationship with someone and then you have a child, right? Whether you're married or not. I don't think it's like you're thinking like, oh, eventually we're going to end this and somebody's going to be a single parent. And why does it always have to be the mom, right? In our community, a lot of people talk about God and Jesus, but when you look in the Bible, it would say the man took the children and the woman left, right? Free of charge with nothing. So I'm like, why?
Well, we have a court system though that leans toward the women.
I'm like, people always want to talk about, religion and all that stuff. I'm like, there should be more single dads and less single mothers, right? When you look at it. But then again, back to the Bible, right? It talks about how could a woman, I don't know the exact phrase, but how could she forget her nursing child or something like that, right? Obviously, the bond between a mother and child, it's deeper than the father.
That's not true. Oh, that's not true.
Well, yes,
that's
it
not
is.
True. That is
There's
not true.
more of a connection.
That's not true.
From birth, a baby is more connected to the mom.
Let me explain to you why.
Okay.
We as men, y'all bond with the child first. Like y'all may have the
I'm
idea.
saying.
But our bond is just as deep. I think the problem.
That's true. I agree.
I think the problem with a lot of women is that y'all minimize the role and effort of a man. And it shows. It's like y'all just like how you said, we are the prize. So if you're putting down that you're number one, you must be putting down I'm number two. You see what I'm saying? Like, no,
we are the prize. And
not necessarily. Not necessarily. And the reason why I say that is because what makes a diamond a diamond? What makes a diamond so special?
It's rare.
Right. So if you have a bunch of diamonds, right, it's not as rare because it's like I could get a diamond anywhere, right?
Right.
Who is there more men than they are women?
I don't know.
There's more women than they are men
In the world?
in the world. Just
I don't know.
as a plain as it's just more women than they are men.
I don't believe that.
Secondly,
I don't believe that.
secondly, there's not a lot of men that there's not a lot of men that are the kind of man that you would actually want. There's a lot of women that could fit your shoes because at the end of the day, with no disrespect, I may not be looking for much. I might be just looking for straight companionship. So any placeholder would do. But there's not a lot of men that could be your provider. It's not a lot of men that could actually be your protector, especially your protector who's willing to lay his life down. There's not a lot of men. It said it. This is not me. This is statistics. They say that 9 out of 10 times when women have sex, they don't even orgasm. It's only a few men that know how to do that. So just by the little things right there, little examples right there, men technically are the prize.